Welcome back to Strictly Auburn. Auburn just got done with their bye week, so we are here doing some Strictly Auburn report cards through the first 7 weeks of Auburn's football season. So let's kick things off. Eli, I'm going to start with you. Let's start with Robbie Ashford. So what's your grade for Robbie?
Some people might think this is a little high, but I'm going to give Robbie Ashford a B- due to the sole fact of this O-line and how this offense was not obviously prepared for him. I'm going to give him B-. And some pros and cons I would like to mention of Robbie Ashford is his athletic ability with running. He has a decent arm, his competitiveness in the game. I mean, you can see it on the sideline. He gets pretty mad when he doesn't, convert a first down or something like that. And then I think some cons with Robbie is obviously he's inexperienced. He can tend to have a little bit of happy feet, move out of the pocket whenever he doesn't need to, and he's a little bit inconsistent. But I think that's just he's young. He's a young quarterback.
Yeah, he'll grow into being a good college football quarterback. That's for sure.
For sure.
I want to jump to you next. Let's Connor. Let's go to Derek Hall. What are you going to give him?
Derek Hall is our defensive leader.
Yeah.
I give him a B+. He's really young. He's a sophomore. He shows a lot of leadership on the field.
He's a junior.
Oh, it's a junior, my bad. He's not that young then, but he shows a lot of leadership on the field. He's a leader in sacks for the team this year as well, and he's really big. He's 6'3", to around 250. The only cons I see is that he's kind of undisciplined. He takes way too many penalties, but he makes back up for it on the field.
Yeah, I mean, last week alone he had three penalties. Before
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, 3 penalties, kind of killer. Extended the drive on third downs, which I mean NFL scouts are not going to like. But he is a real leader, and I know Eli in our preseason show you did pick him to lead the team in sacks, so that's looking real good at this point. Let's jump to the offensive side of the ball, though. What about Tank?
I would give Tank an A just because, again, our O-line is not giving him any opportunity to be who he can be. I mean, you saw last week was the first time, or 2 weeks ago against Ole Miss, where he really shined and had a couple of long runs, and you could tell that. I mean, he's an athlete, and some pros I have for him. He has good vision. He's extremely explosive, and he runs hard. I mean, both are running backs with Jarquez and Tank. But some cons, like I said, the O-line is not helping him out at all. So I would give his score as a solid A for sure.
An A.
An A.
So Tank is interesting though. You mentioned earlier that if he rushes for 1,000 yards in the 2022 season, he'll become just the first running back to rush for 1,000 yards in 3 straight seasons, that's a pretty incredible
stat
right
there.
It just shows you. I feel like a lot of people kind of are sleeping on Tank this year. I mean, you think he might be a sleeper in the draft as well, for sure. I would think.
Well, I have him. Yeah, my draft grade right now for him would probably be a 2nd or 3rd round guy.
I think that's a steal though too.
This running back class is incredibly weak, so just because he has a 2nd, 3rd, 4th round draft grade for some people, I could see him going if he has a really strong end to the season, because he hasn't shown anything through the first 7 weeks. He's had pretty poor first 7 weeks against Power 5 competition, given the offensive line struggles, injuries, and all that. But NFL scouts don't care about injuries.
You're right.
They don't care about the offensive line. They just care about your production, what you look like. Yeah. So let's jump back to the defensive side of the ball, though, for 1 second. Owen Pappoe, he's been a little bit disappointing, so I'm curious to know, what's your grade for Owen Pappoe?
Yeah, he's definitely regressed since last season for sure, so I'm going to give him a C. His pros, he definitely makes open field tackles a lot during the game. He's a great athlete, and he finds where the ball is, but he doesn't fit gaps. He doesn't play sideline to sideline like he did last year or like he should this year, and he just doesn't stay on assignment at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he does lead the team in tackles. He has 57 total tackles, so he is playing. He's playing all right. He's just not filling out his assignments as he should. And then, his size, especially being
he's
an NFL talent. Last year he was an NFL talent. Chose to came back when Jacoby McClain went to the draft. He ended up coming back. His size is probably what's going to hamper his draft stock a little bit. So I'm curious to know.
Really.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how he fits the end of the season, if he shows up at the combine and what that looks like, and how he performs in the Senior Bowl.
For sure.
Jumping to the last player we're going to grade, DJ James.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about DJ since week 1 for Strictly Auburn. I mean, I had high hopes for him coming into the season when he transferred to Auburn from Oregon. I mean, I've been watching him since high school, and he's only gave me good things to talk about, to be honest. I would give him a B so far right now. Nobody's perfect, but some pros for him. He's really fast. He's a 4-4 kind of kid and plays the ball very well. He makes plays. He makes the right plays with his hands. He doesn't have too many penalties. He did have one against LSU, which was kind of a gimmicky call, but I think some cons that he needs to work on a little bit is he can tend to get lost in coverage and kind of give up that deep ball that we've seen a little bit. But so far, he's playing really good at Auburn so far, so I'll give him a B.
He's played really well in press, too, which I'm impressed with.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah. He plays really good against, either on the open field or against the sideline. So pretty versatile quarterback.
Jonathan Mingo, who's been explosive for Ole Miss all season. He's the reason they're a top 10 team right now.
Yeah.
As we record this, a top 10 team.
Yeah.
But he's been incredible. He shut him down in 4 quarters of football, so that's really impressive.
Put clamps against Keyshawn Butte as well. So
two big future first round.
I would say he would be a steal in the draft. To be honest, for me, I think
I personally think he's going to come back for his senior year.
I think he will too. But I think when he does enter the draft though.
I think he's going to be a steal for Auburn next year.
He's going to be a stud senior. He's going to hold our.
He's going to be a stud. Yeah, there's no doubt. He's going to be one of the top returning corners in the SEC,
easy.
if not college football.
What was that stat that we had the pro?
So he's got the lowest catch rate allowed by SEC cornerbacks in 2022. He allows just 30.8% of receivers to catch the ball when they're targeted.
That's incredible.
SEC average 54.9.
That's what you want against.
Oh yeah.
As a quarterback, a lot of coaches and players want to look at interceptions and pass deflections, but that stat says alone how good he is in coverage. So
I guess as a cornerback, the best compliment you could get is not seeing your name on a stat sheet.
Exactly.
No penalties. No.
It was hard for us to find stats about him, which is a good thing for a cornerback because. Like you just mentioned, him not being on a stat sheet is a good sign.
It's the same thing with the offensive line, right?
Yeah.
The offensive line shouldn't be tabbed on if they're good, but for this Auburn offensive line, I think this might be one of the worst offensive lines we have ever seen, and I think we unanimously graded them an F.
Oh, yeah.
Not an F for, stuff they've done, just all over performance with whether it's been staying healthy, staying on the field, which is out of their control, but the lack of run blocking, the lack of pass protection. They've given up so many free rushers, missing assignments, miscommunications. What do you guys have to say about them?
To be honest, it's really disappointing seeing them this year. I didn't have any expectations they were going to be a great O-line this season.
No.
They're very old and they're experienced, which that's good to a certain extent, but they haven't produced anything at all. And like you said, there's a lot of injuries, just a lot of disappointment overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think 2 weeks ago against Ole Miss was the first time you actually got to see running lanes for the Auburn Tigers, for the running backs. But other than that, this O-line hasn't given Tank or Jarquez any opportunity to do what they can do and what we know as Auburn fans can do. And for Robbie Ashford on a pass protection aspect of it, he's really running for his life, which
it's awful.
Really,
it
disrupts. It messes up Robbie as a quarterback, and then the receivers and tight ends don't have any time to get open.
Yeah, it's a rhythm thing. So when you don't have an offensive line, it's hard for your offensive players, especially your quarterbacks, wide receivers, to find a true rhythm.
Yep.
But a part of that is coaching, and a part of that is Brian Harsin, whether it's not having his guys prep for the week, whether it's film study, whether it's a mentality thing, trust issues, I don't know. I'm not in the building. But what I do know is every time I turn on this game, I feel like I'm thinking Brian Harsin should probably be gone at some point.
Yeah.
For that reason, I give him a D- on this season thus far. The only reason it's not an F is because he hasn't been fired, so that's pretty much the only reason I'm not giving him an F. But for Harsin, though, the expectation for him was to come and bring Auburn back to where it should be, a 10-win program year in, year out.
Right.
But since he's been here, he's 9-11, 6-7 this season, ended last year on a 5-game losing streak. It feels like every storyline to do with him has to do with losing. Went to a bowl game last year, fumbled that away. They lost 17-13 to Houston. We have seen moments of success, though. We've seen 15-minute spurts, 20-minute spurts where this offense looks good, defense looks prepped. But that's pretty much it. He's been out-recruited in the SEC and just lack of preparation.
I think this just goes to show you I know this is going to be a little controversial. A lot of people want Deion Sanders. I mean, you take a guy like Brian Harsin, who was really, really good at Mountain West. I mean, he was one of the most winningest coaches in the Mountain West. And then you go throw him in a team like Auburn, especially in the SEC. This is what happens. I mean, this is what you see happens. We're one of the worst teams in the SEC right now. And if you take a guy like Deion Sanders going from HBCU and throw him in the SEC, I just don't. It's probably going to be the same result.
I agree.
But
it's tough. I mean, Deion Sanders, that'll be a hot name. We can do a whole nother. We'll dive into that.
We can talk about that.
We'll dive into all.
I will say this real quick though. Lane Kiffin did say in his pregame interview against Auburn that it was something like a job interview.
He did say that, and then I mean,
we'll do a whole. We'll dive into this because chances that Harsin comes back next year kind of look slimmer and slimmer each week, but. You never know. Maybe he's one of the options for 2023. But that just about does it for player grades. We will come back to y'all next week. Arkansas,
with the show, yeah. Hey,
real show in person.
This
first time in 3 weeks.
I'm excited to be back. Though,
home game,
sure.
Arkansas kickoff at 6:30. Wear Navy.
It's at 11 a.m.
11 a.m.
Oh, 11 a.m. I'm sorry. Yeah, don't show up at 6:30.
Yeah, you'd be late.
You'd be late, but 11 a.m. Navy out.
It's gonna be exciting.
Hell yeah.
Let's do it.
I think yeah. Do you think Auburn gets a dub? Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
This is one of our best chances of winning the rest of the season. So, yes, I'm going to say
I think we have a better chance of getting it, but we'll talk about that on the show.
We'll get to that for the show. Yeah. All right. War Eagle, guys.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.